Alberta abruptly ended its vaccine passport program this week, giving residents and businesses about 6 whole hours to adjust to the news. But now the City of Edmonton is looking at putting in its own system. Mayor Amarjeet Sohi is here. Amarjeet Sohi, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me, David.
So you've got your staff looking at options here. I mean, what do you think they might come back with? What could this look like for Edmonton?
First of all, as we all know, David, and I've been saying this ever since being in this position, that we are all tired and sick of this COVID situation, and we want restrictions to be gone. But this is not the right time. So what we've been urging province to do is remove them gradually, don't as quickly as possible they have done. So I think that is a concern. So what we are going to be exploring at council is what tools are available to us as a municipality to look at continuing with or instituting a municipal restriction exemptions program that has been so successful, that has encouraged more people to get vaccinated. It has given people the comfort of going into establishments to enjoy themselves, and really encouraged people to get out, people who were vaccinated to get out and support our local businesses. Now I worry that is going to be at risk. There's going to be a lot of confusion for businesses, a lot of going to be uncertainty for business. So we want to see what tools we have available to us and what practically is possible for us to do.
Wouldn't there be more confusion, sir, though, if the provincial government lifts restrictions everywhere and the municipal government reimposes some restrictions in Edmonton?
Oh, absolutely. That's something that we would have to look at. And that's why I've been encouraging province from day one that please do not remove these restrictions so fast, so quickly. Take a gradual approach, continue to engage with health professionals, engage municipalities. Unfortunately, in this case, we were not consulted at all. And we represent a huge number of people. And we have a lot of anxiety out there. We're hearing a lot of concerns from parents whose kids cannot be vaccinated. We're hearing a lot of concerns from Edmontonians who are immune compromised and they cannot get vaccinated. Now that we will have unvaccinated people out in the restaurants, in bars, in recreation centers, on public transit,
right.
And those people will be exposing those who have been responsible and got vaccinated to this virus. So that's a concern that we have, and we rather see province continue to have these restrictions in place, but in the absence, we need to step up and look at the options that we have available to us.
But Premier Kenney has said that if municipalities intend to create this entirely separate municipal public health policy apart from what the province is doing, he calls that, in his words, a serious problem. I mean, what would you say to the Premier about that?
The province of Alberta and government of Alberta encouraged municipalities to step in to look at local tools to protect public health during the COVID, and our municipality instituted our own mask bylaw that it has continued. It will continue into the future. So we have been playing our role, and I hope that we will be allowed to continue to play that role. We have the legal ability and just jurisdictional authority to make sure that we are taking steps to protect the public health of Edmontonians and their well-being, and that they are safe. And we are going to do what we can in our authority to make sure that we are playing our part and the expectations that Edmontonians have of their local council to make sure that this council is protecting their well-being.
Right, but Mr. Sohi, one of the things that Jason Kenney talked about the other night was the vaccine passport requirement causing conflict. People would ask for it, people would get angry, there would be yelling and stuff in a restaurant where it was being enforced. I mean, if he lifts it provincially or has lifted it provincially and you impose something like this municipally, I mean, do you worry about there being these sort of aggressive encounters between people, at businesses who have to comply with this?
That is a real worry, with having a province-wide exemption program in place with the force of the law behind it was more effective. It was easy to enforce for establishments, and we've been enforcing that in our municipal recreation centers and went really well. And there were not many incidents of aggressive behavior. Now that we're emboldening those voices that have been very rude, voices that have been very, aggressive in demanding changes. And these are the mostly unvaccinated people, small group of people who have not done their part to protect their communities, and now their voices are being emboldened. And I worry about the well-being of frontline workers who would be not only be exposed to greater risk of contacting COVID, but also enforcing rules and regulations. And these are the young people. These are women working in the restaurants and bars and in the recreation centers on public transit. And many of them are racialized young people. So absolutely, that is something I am deeply concerned about, and that's something that we would definitely factor into our decision-making process on how we move forward on this.
On another topic, if I can, sir, while we have you, you're a former federal cabinet minister in portfolios like natural resources and infrastructure, and those were controversial at different times. And you look at the controversies happening right now with these protests happening across the country. The border crossings are being blocked. The downtown core of the capital city is essentially occupied, as the mayor says. I mean, does the federal government need to do more to address this? And in your view, what needs to be done?
Oh, first of all, my heart goes to everyone who lives downtown and in Ottawa and the surrounding communities. We have seen this in our own city, people's lives being disrupted over the last 2 weekends, right? And these people they have basically occupied downtown Ottawa, and I can understand maybe the frustrations of some people, not all of them, and their combination of ultra-right voices and some very problematic racist voices in this conversation. So I know on the one hand, you need to make sure you're not negotiating and caving into these loud voices whose goal is not to be looking at the well-being of the entire country and the entire communities, but at the same time, you don't want to create more division and inflame more things.
But is Ottawa doing enough here, sir?
Balance for people to balance.
I mean, you're the mayor of a major city, of a provincial capital. I mean, what do you think of how the provincial government and the federal government have responded to the situations here?
What we have been doing here in our city is letting people demonstrate and express their views. At the same time, we have been enforcing our laws. We've been enforcing our bylaws. We've been ticketing people whenever they are. Yes, we haven't done enough. I wish we could have done more. And I think we need to make sure that as people protest, in this case, I think it's gone beyond a protest. This has turned into occupation. I think law enforcement has to be forefront and making sure that people are unable to disrupt other people's lives.
Okay, Mayor Sohi, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.